Word magic's real. Learn it. And Jesus lights his joint, blows the smoke in the most snooty one's face, and says, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. And then he hits his joint again and blows it in some dude's face. What commandment is the foremost of all? I bet you it's not the one that Paul said. I'm willing to bet everything that this is not at all what Paul said. And that's why people should have quit reading the New Testament as soon as Paul didn't say this. Because they didn't want to be mushroom stamped with a mic drop. Quit it. Quit it. Quit it. Yeah, fucking quit it. But the one who endures to the end shall be saved. That's the name of the game. If you really want to be a soldier in the army of the Lord in heaven, you have to make it all the way through. You can't wait and wish and want to be unsubscribed, because you'll pickle your own soul and you'll be alive forever. You get happy and then you make it through the game called life. Literally. Take heed. Keep on the alert. Don't get ready. Stay ready, motherfuckers. Shit's about to happen. And all of them looked at each other like, was it me? You would know if it was you. You idiot. You're better off not saying shit. Oh, there's a raccoon in my kitchen. Hold on. Of course there's not, because I'm not very smart. But I'm glad I get to redo it. So anyway, come on in and welcome to my humble abode, also known as the Party Pen. Really, it's a cave in the middle of some universe somewhere, and it's way far away from Bizarro World. So come on in, and I'm going to tell you what we do. We read, well, this is a trilogy. It's a trilogy known as God Said, because God did not say that. We are on book 2 of this trilogy. It's called Jesus, comma, who, question mark. And we're reading it, okay? It's part 2. And part 2 is about God number 3, God the third, you know, because God Jr., he's kind of retiring, and he's like, hey, little guy, I'm going to let you go do some shit, and then you got to come back and be God, right? It's like the Amish. The Amish let the kids go to do whatever they need to do when they're like 16 or something. Anyway, so that's what God Jr. did to God the third, who's Jesus. He just let him go down here to see what happens. ah, anyway. Anyway, if that sounds like fun to you, come this way. I have whatever you need. I have cannabis, cigarettes, coffee, chairs with your name on it. There's a couch right there. And then you can sit there. And I have cat beds and canine space. So bring your animals. We have a good time. Okay. So now we are in Mark chapter 12. See, I thought I needed to, like, put in my bookmark, but no, my bookmark's right there. So now I don't know where the hell we are. We are having a good ass time, and we need to take off our Devon Dudley sunglasses so we can see the light. So stay right there, Devon Dudley sunglasses. Okay, so now we are on Mark 12. So yesterday we learned about the line. We just want the cookies. I just want the cookies. No, no, I can't troll my own chat because do you know how hard it was to turn last night's live stream into a video because I talked too much? It was really hard. You should have seen it, man. It was like chopped up, like a bunch of little things. Look, it was really difficult to get to make that video from last night's live stream. So now Jesus was telling us about the line and how these terrible ass God people, they're going through back of the line. And then I told you guys I'd probably be in the middle of the line. I could probably still hear the music, but I can't exactly pray with God because I have delusions of grandeur. It's a good time. So, um, I think that's it. Oh, Maynard's freaking out. Okay. Oh yeah. And then the Sons of Thunder as Jesus, if they could be on his right and his left. And he's like, you can't be either. You'll get to sit at the table with your chair facing the wall. And that's what he told them. And then he told them babies are going to be taken on his right and his left because God Jr. said so. Whatever. I may have made that part up, but I just thought, I thought it would be funny if they were facing toward the wall while it was eating time. They'd have a dunce cap on. Listen, shut up, Nikki. I'm shutting up. No, you're not. No, I am. I am. Because we're going on to chapter 12. Ah, okay. We're going to assume that I remember what the hell happened. Hold on. Oh, yeah, and then Jesus killed a fig tree. That's right. And then Peter pointed it out. Hey, Jesus, there's that fig tree you killed. And Jesus is like, I know. Sucky ass fig tree. Should have had fruit. That's not what Jesus said. That's what I said. um, oh, yeah. And then these terrible ass God people came talking smack to Jesus and they got served. Man, they got fucking served. Anyway, they were like, who gave you authority to heal people? And Jesus answered with a question. Like, that is the most annoying thing. When people answer you with a question, they probably got something to hide. But Jesus asked them a question. Who baptized John? And they were like, yeah, we don't know. And he's like, well, then I don't know either. I just do shit. Yeah, didn't nobody tell me nothing. Yeah. I'm like that Nas song. Can't tell me nothing, right? Anyway, that's what he said. So that's where we left off. And oh, yeah, I don't have cookies and Kool-Aid. I'm sorry. But if it still sounds interesting, this walking the store with Jesus, getting to meet God the third in person. So if that sounds cool to you, come this way. Yeah, I fucked this whole thing up. I was supposed to tell you about the cigarettes and the cannabis and the chairs with your name on it right now, but I think I already told you. I'm really bad at these intros because I had so many intros. I've been doing this for a long time. I've had so many intros, but now I don't have no intro, so I'm just trying to make some shit up. I'm bad on the fly. I can't think of anything, but I definitely know we are on chapter 12. So come this way. Um, grab your Mountain Dew Baja Blast and come along with me. Okay. And he began again. No. And he began to speak to them in parables. A man planted a vineyard and put a wall around it, dug a vat under the winepress, and built a tower and rented it out to vine growers and went on a journey. And at the harvest, he sent a slave to the vine growers in order to receive some of the produce of the vineyard from the vine dressers. They took him and beat him and sent him away empty handed. And then he sent another Slave, and they wounded him in the head and treated him shamefully. And then he sent another one, and that one they killed, and with so many others, beating and killing some. And he had one more to send, a beloved son. He sent him last of all to them, saying, respect God the third. No, he said, respect. Oh, no. Oh, no, he said, they will respect my son. But those vine growers said to one another, this is the heir. Let us kill him, and his inheritance will be ours. That's not how that works, by the way. That's not how that works. And they took and killed him and threw him out of the vineyard. What will the owner of the vineyard do? He will come and destroy those vine growers and give the vineyard to others. And give the vineyard to others. Have you not read this scripture? The stone. It's a Bob Marley song. The stone which the builder refused become the key cornerstone. And this came about from the Lord, and it's marvelous in our eyes. And they were seeking to seize him, but they feared the multitude, for they understood that he was talking about them. Mickey, mic drop. Yeah. Jesus talks more shit than a little bit. They needed a burn word right then, man. They were anyway. And they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to him in order to trap him with word magic. Word magic's real. Learn it. Yeah. They're trying to catch him up in his shit. Okay. So they were going to test him, right? And they came and said, Teacher, we know that you are truthful and defer no one, for you are not partial to any, but teach the way of God in truth. Is it lawful to pay a tax to Caesar? And Jesus lights his joint, blows the smoke in the most snooty one's face, and says, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. And then he hits his joint again and blows it in some dude's face, and then walks away. Okay. And they brought, okay. So, and then he's like, why are you testing me? Bring me oh, yeah, okay. Why are you word magic? And give it to Caesar, right? That's what he said. Give the things of Caesar to Caesar. And they were amazed at him. And some Sadducees, who says there is no resurrection, came to him questioning him. This is the part that we got to pay attention to real quick, because it's going to tell us all about angels and if we know each other in heaven or not. Which the answer is no. But we're going to hear it right from Jesus. Okay. So they began to question him, saying, what? Saying, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and he leaves behind a wife and no child, his brother's got to do it. There were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died and had no offspring. And she did this to all the 7. And the men died. And then last of all, the woman died. In the resurrection, when they rise again, which one's wife will she be? Because all of them went up in that. And Jesus said, no, that's not how that works. You do not understand the scriptures or the power of God. Listen, it's written, when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. But regarding the fact that the dead rise again, have you not read in the book of Moses the passage about the burning bush and how God spoke to him saying, I am the God of Abe, Isaac, and Jake. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. You are greatly mistaken. Nobody's in to know anybody. Did you get your cookies, Wheels? Anyway, nobody's in to know anybody. They're going to be like angels. And one of the scribes came and heard them arguing, and recognizing that he had answered them well, asked him, "What commandment is the foremost of all?" I bet you it's not the one that Paul said. I'm willing to bet everything that this is not at all what Paul said. And that's why people should have quit reading the New Testament as soon as Paul didn't say this. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. So that's why you should have quit reading that shit from Paul day one. Because Paul said the most important one is love your father and your mother or something. It was the third one. And he never once mentions the first commandment. Never, not one time in the New Testament does Paul say anything about love your God. No. As a matter of fact, he doesn't. I'm just throwing that out there as a free throw. It's going to hit, no problem. 2 in the hoop. Bam. Gone. Going hard in the paint over here. Just where am I at in life? Okay. And the scribe said to him, "Right, you have stated, he is one and there is no one else but him. And to love him with all your heart, with all the understanding and the strength to love one's neighbor as himself is..." What? Wait. The scribe said, "Right, teacher, you have truly stated that he is one and there is no one besides him. And to love him with all your heart, with all your understanding and your strength, and to love one as neighbor as himself." And when Jesus saw he had answered intelligently, he said, "You are not far from the KOG." And after that, no one would venture to ask him any more questions because they didn't want to be mushroom stamped with a mic drop. Quit it. Quit it. Quit it. Yeah. Fucking quit it. Yeah. And Jesus answering began to say, as he taught in the temple. So he's having another concert right now. And he says, "How is it the scribes say that Christ is the son of David? David says himself in the Holy Spirit, 'The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand.'" Okay, so God Jr. told God the third to sit at his right hand until I put your enemies beneath your feet. David himself calls him Lord. So what sense is he is his son? Because Joe Seaman had nothing to do with the birth of Jesus. That's why. Like, Joe wasn't going up in a raw dog. Like, he didn't even do that kind of thing. And bam, a ghost got Mary pregnant. And he has no relation to David at all. No, that's not true. Because I guess he's related. No, because even if it was through Adam, then he would just be related to God. Well, I guess he would be a distant cousin, maybe. I don't know, but it turns out they're not related. Okay. David himself calls him Lord. And so what sense is he his son? And the great crowd enjoyed listening to him. And his teaching, he was saying, "Beware of the scribes who like to walk around in long robes and like respectful greetings in the marketplaces and chief seats in the synagogues and at my concerts and places of honor at banquets, who devour widows' houses and for appearance sake offer long prayers. These will receive greater condemnation." And he sat down opposite the treasury and began observing how the multitude. Okay. And in his teaching, he was saying, oh yeah, okay, hold on. Bye, Henry. He says, "Beware of the scribes who like to okay, I remember reading this. But they devour widows' houses, and for appearance's sake offer long prayers. These receive greater condemnation. And he sat down opposite the treasury and began observing how the multitude were putting money into the treasury. And many rich people were putting in large sums. And a poor widow came in and put in 2 pennies. And calling his disciples, he said, listen, I'm telling you, this poor widow put in more than all the contributors to the treasury, for they all put in their surplus. But she, out of her poverty, put in all she owned and had to live on, right? Because we go to front of line. Yay. Yeah, and it's that time of the month that I got to start asking for help to buy dog food for my raccoons because my raccoons, they're about to be out of food. Okay. So we're going on to chapter 13. And it says, as he was leaving his concert, one of his disciples said, oh God, here we go. Here we go. Jesus, look, this, this would be enough to deflate anybody's balloon. I'm just going to say that, okay? His disciple, we don't know which one it was, it's probably Peter, said, hey, look at these cool ass buildings. You know, they're so nice and stuff. They're so cool, these buildings. And Jesus is like, yeah, but they won't be there for very long because everything's going to be ruined. Everything is going to be terrible. Right. Now, and as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, Peter and his brother Andrew and the sons of thunder were questioning him privately, saying, hey, Jesus, you're talking about, you know, these buildings being torn down and stuff. Like, listen, we have families. Like, we have families, you know, we want to be prepared. I mean, like, we're not like Mormon preppers or anything, but I would like to know when my house is going to fall in on me because that would be a great thing to know, you know, so I could just tell my wife, you know, on this day, we got to go to flat ground because shit's going to be fucked up. And Jesus is like, I don't know. I was just telling you it's going to happen. I would, you know, whatever happened to good looking, bro. You know, good looking out. It's mighty white of you. You know, one of those things. And and Jesus said, um, and Jesus said, hold on, when are these things going to happen? And Jesus said, see to it that no one misleads you. Many will come in my name, say, I am he, and will mislead many. And when you hear of wars and rumors of war, do not be frightened. Those things must take place. But that is not yet the end. Nope. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will also be famines. These things are nearly the beginning of birth pangs. Yeah, things are happening. But be on guard, for they will deliver you to the courts, and you will be flogged in their synagogues, and you will stand before governors and kings for my sake as a testimony. Yep, the whole thing is happening. And it's all because they're talking about Jesus. Okay. And the gospel must first be preached to all the nations. And when they arrest you and deliver you up, do not be anxious about what you're going to say, but the Holy Spirit's going to say it for you. And brother will deliver brother, and father his child, and children their parents, and have them unsubscribe from God's YouTube on purpose. And you will be hated on by all accounts of my name, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. Okay. hold on, and mislead many, but that is not nation. Okay, is a testimony of him. The gospel must be preached to all the nations. And when they arrest you and deliver you up, do not be anxious about what you're to say, because the Holy Spirit will talk for you. And okay, and they will be hated on by all accounts for my name. But the one who endures to the end shall be saved. That's the name of the game. If you really want to be a soldier in the army of the Lord in heaven, you have to make it all the way through. You can't you can't wait and wish and want to be unsubscribed, because you'll pickle your own soul and you'll be alive forever. You get happy and then you make it through the game called life. Literally. Yep. When you see the abomination of desolation standing, standing there, it should not be. Wait, when you see the abomination of desolation standing where it should not be, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, and him who is on the housetop do not go down or enter in to get anything out of his house. And the dude in the field can't go home and get a coat. Listen, woe to all y'all if it's in the winter or if you got a tiny baby. But pray that it doesn't happen in the winter, for those days will be a time of tribulation, which has not occurred since the beginning of the creation, which God created, until now, and never shall. What's happening? And unless the Lord had shortened the days, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, whom he chose, he shortened the days. And if anyone says to you, behold, here is the Christ, or behold, he is over there, do not believe him. For false Christes and false prophets will arise and call themselves Mormons, and will show you signs and wonders in order, if possible, to lead the elect astray. But take heed, behold, I have told you everything in advance. But in those days, after the tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give light, and the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers that are in the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man riding on cloud dolphin. It's going to be so much fun. And he will send forth his angels, who will also be on cloud dolphins, and gather together his elect from the four winds, from the farthest end of the earth to the farthest end of heaven. Now, learn the parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know summer is near. Even so, you too, when you see these things happening, recognize that he is right at the door. Then why'd you kill it? I don't know why you killed it. Anyway, listen, I'm telling you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But of that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels or the Son, only the Father. But take heed, keep on the alert. Don't get ready, stay ready, motherfuckers. Shit's about to happen. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't get ready, stay ready, lest he come and suddenly find you asleep. And what I say to you, say to all. Don't get ready, stay ready, wizard. Haha, yeah. That's what Jesus said. Okay. So, we're going to go on to chapter 14. Okay. Now, the Celebrate Dead Baby Day was 2 days off, and the chief priests and the scribes were seeking how to seize him by stealth and unsubscribe him from his own dad's YouTube. For they were saying, not during La Fiesta, lest there be a riot. Yeah, you guys are good at making people riot. Anyway, shut up, Nikki. I'm shutting up. And Yeah. I know what's about to happen. I know what's about to happen. I do. Okay. Okay. I know what's about to happen. And man, we're gonna love it. Here we go. Man, hold on. Let me have my bowl first. Okay. Now, while he was in Bethany at the home of Simon the leper and declining at the table, there, there came a woman with an alabaster vial of very costly perfume, pure nard, and she broke the vial and poured it over Jesus's head. He's like, don't worry, I wasn't eating. It's not like I need this hamburger. I'm only going to die in a couple days. I don't really need this food. Yeah. She dumped some oil on his head, right? It was like some really perfumey, smelly shit. And Jesus is like, don't worry, I wasn't eating. And his disciples, the people sitting there, were like, what are you doing? We could have sold that. Yeah, and we could have given the money away. But now you dumped it all over Jesus, who was eating. Now his food's got his oil all over his way. And Jesus was like, no, don't worry, I wasn't. I was only pretending I was going to eat this food before she dumped all this oil on my head. So, by the time this is over, I'm going to look like X-Pac. I got a big ass greasy head and man, it's going to be all bad. But it's okay because I wasn't eating. And then, and then Jesus was like, she did this because I'm, gonna be unsubscribed from my dad's YouTube in a couple days. So she was doing this so I don't get ashy before I die, you know? And you'll always have poor people. Only a little bit of time left for you to have me. So you can always, find some other alabaster oil or whatever that shit's called. Yeah, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Leave her alone. Oh my God. Leave her alone. Okay. In memory. Okay. Then Judas went off to the chief priests in order to betray him to them. All because Jesus stuck up for this woman who dumped oil on him and his food. So, because Judas was hoping to get that money so he could, do what trickster thieves do with money. And they were glad when they heard this and promised to give him money. And he began seeking how to betray him at the opportune time. Oh, you could do it any time, you rat snake. And on the first day of Celebrate Dead Baby Day, when the Passover lamb was being sacrificed, his disciples said to him, where do you want us to go and prepare for you the Passover? And he sent two of his disciples and said, go into the city, and a man will meet you carrying water. Follow him, and wherever he enters, say, Jesus needs this place. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, I got upstairs. It's all ready for you. And his disciples went out and came to the city and found everything just like Jesus said. And then they prepared the Passover. And when it was evening, came the 12, and they sat there reclining at the table and eating. And Jesus said, one of you guys is about to betray me. And all of them looked at each other like, was it me? You would know if it was you. You idiot. You're better off not saying shit. But whatever. And Jesus is like, no, it's whoever it's one of you guys eating with me. You'll never guess. And they began to be grieved and say, it's not me. And then he's like, it's one of you 12, the one who dips with me in the bowl. For the Son of Man is to go, just as it is written. But woe to the motherfucker that does it. He would be better to be catapulted into a shark tank with pedophiles, because that's the thing that happens. And while they were eating, he took some bread, and after blessing it, he broke it and gave it to him and said, "This is my flesh, eat me." And then he had taken a cup and given thanks, and then he gave it to him and was like, "This is my blood, drink me." Yeah. Oh, Jesus has no chill. Okay. Because listen, I'm telling you, I will never drink fruit of the vine until I drink it new, until the day that I drink it new in the KOG. And after singing a hymn, they refused to tell us what it was. They went out to the Mount of Olives and got smashed. That's not what happened. And Jesus said, "You will all fall away because it is written, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go to Galilee." And Peter, fucking Peter, okay, well, hold on. We are on Mark chapter 14. We're on verse 25. So it's Mark 14, verse 25. Let me know when you get there. It'll start with or Jesus saying, "Truly I say to you." So it's like, listen, I'm telling you, I shall never drink the fruit of the vine until the day I drink it new in the KOG. And after singing a hymn, he went to the Mount of Olives and got smashed. It didn't say that. And Jesus said to them, "You will fall away because it is written, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go before you to Galilee." But fucking Peter the coward said, "Even though I to fall away, I will not." And Jesus said, "Listen, Peter." And he's trying to say this without busting up laughing. Like, it's got to be so funny to Jesus to hear Peter talk like that, knowing what's going to happen. Yeah. Okay. So Jesus, trying not to laugh so hard, tells Peter, "Look, it won't even be daylight before you ignore me twice or three times. Before three times you say you don't know me, the sun will barely be coming up." Okay. But Peter kept saying insistently, "I will die with you. I will die with you. I'm Peter. I pee in the pool." Fucking Peter. I hate that guy. Man, he's such a fucking coward. Those who talk about it can't be about it. Don't talk about it, be about it. And he's not going to be about it. He's just talking about it. Like he's got a big dick. I bet it's the size of my fucking pinky. Look, I need to quit. This is a real problem. Okay. Okay. And they all were saying the same thing. And they came to a place called Gerber Baby Food. And he said to his disciples, "Sit here until I have prayed." And he took with him Peter and the sons of thunder and began to be very distressed and troubled. And he said, "My soul is deeply grieved to the point of death. Remain here and keep watch." And he went a little beyond them and fell to the ground and began to pray.
Dad, listen. Listen. No, look. I made friends. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know, but they're my friends. Man. I didn't even get to have a sleepover. Man. I know a couple days ago I was like, oh my God, how long? But I wasn't thinking about it. But I have friends. They're my friends. There's a chick. There's some dudes. I like, and the dudes, man, they're not going to make it very far. Yeah, I need to be here. And not puffing myself up or anything. I'm puffing them down because they can't live without me or something. I'm assuming that because obviously they can live. They've done lived long before they even knew me, although I'm not sure how. But yeah, I can't die. I can't die. I have friends. I can't die.
Okay. So He came and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "Why are you asleep? You could not keep watch for 1 hour. Keep watching and praying that you may not come into the temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." And then he went away and prayed some more.
Okay. Dad, I'm back. Look. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, but you know what? They're my friends. They suck really bad. But they're my friends. They're good guys. He's good guy. No. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, even though they're my friends, whatever you decide to do, I'm gonna go with them. I'm gonna go with it. Even though, please, whatever you want to do, we'll do it. Yeah, it's all gonna be a surprise.
And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And then Jesus was like, "Well, you did just eat dinner, and I have had you walking around for a long time. I don't know the last time you had anything to drink. Okay. Maybe it was unfair to me to say, hey, sit here in the dark after you've just ate a gigantic dinner." And he came the third time and said, "Are you still sleeping, taking a rest? It is enough that the hour has come. Behold, the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Arise, let us be going, because the one who betrayed me is coming." And immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas came up, accompanied by a multitude with swords and clubs, with the chief priests, the scribes, and pretty much he came with the multitude and these terrible ass God people. Now, he who was betraying him had Judas had told the people, the one who I get these terrible ass God people, the one I give the kiss to, right? And after coming immediately, he went to him saying, "Rubba-ba-bye," and then kissed him. And they laid hands on him and seized him. But a certain one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck a slave of the high priest and cut off his ear. And Jesus said, "Mind your own business. Who made you my caretakers? Who made you my manager? Nobody even wants you. What are you doing?" Hold on. Hold on. We are at Mark 14, verse 51. No, I lied. Chapter 14, verse 47. But a certain one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the slave of the high priest and cut off his ear. And then Jesus was like, "Who made you guys my manager? Mind your own fucking business." And then Jesus said, "You've come out with your swords and clubs to arrest me. You guys have been to my concert. I've at least signed autographs for 35 of you. Okay. And I recognize a bunch of your faces from multiple concerts that I've had. So why are you coming at me like this now? Who put you up to it? One of these guys?" That's fine. It's AOOK, yo. Okay. And hold on. And you did not seize me. This had happened that the scriptures might be fulfilled. And they all left him and fled. And a certain young man was following him, wearing nothing but a linen sheet over his dead, or a certain young man was following him, wearing nothing but a linen sheet over his naked body. And they seized him, but he left his linen sheet behind and escaped naked. And they led Jesus away to the high priest, and all these terrible God people gathered together. And Peter followed at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest. And he was sitting with the officers and warming himself at the fire. Now the chief priest and the whole council kept trying to obtain a testimony against Jesus to put him to death, and they were not finding any. For many were giving false testimony against him, yet their testimony was not consistent. And some stood up and began to give false testimony against him, saying, "We heard him say he will destroy this temple and build it again in 3 days." And not even this respect was their testimony consistent. And the high priest stood up and came forward and questioned Jesus, saying, These guys are, what do you have to say? And Jesus said, plead a fifth, drink a fifth. And again, the high priest was questioning him, saying, are you the Christ? And Jesus said, yep. And you will see me on cloud dolphin. And getting naked, the high priest said, what further do we have of a witness? You have heard the blasphemy. How does it seem to you? And they all condemned him to deserving death. And some began to spit at him, to blindfold him, and to beat him with their fists and say, prophecy. And the officers received him with slaps in the face. And Peter was below the courtyard, and one of the servant girls said, oh my God, I have your concert poster. Can I have your autograph? And Peter's like, what concert? Who? No, there was no concert. And she's like, yeah, no, I see you're right here in 17 magazine. I saw you. Can I have your autograph? And Peter's like, no. So then he runs to a different place. And there was another girl there. Like, you're from that concert, aren't you? And Peter's like, no. So he runs off. Okay. Hold on. Okay. But again, he was denying it. And after a little while, they were like, no, you definitely got to be the guy from the concert. You look exactly like the guy from the concert. And then Peter was like, I do not know this. And immediately the cock crowed and the sun began to shine. And Peter realized he was bitch made all day. That's the end of that chapter. Okay, I'm hitting the outro. I love you. But he held my hand. Oh, that was the coolest little thing. That raccoon, he held my hand. Like a little gentleman raccoon. He held my hand like, will you marry me? I'm like, oh, little raccoon, I'll marry you all day. I love him. He's so nice to me.